And like,
I mean, no,
and then the thing is, what has struck in me about fuck.
I got 4 words for you gentlemen that will sum up, how I'm feeling right now. Let there be carnage.
That's right. Venom 2 is out. Movie magic is back. We saw Venom 2 last night. It is one of the only movies you can see that has a story credit by Tom Hardy. And oh boy, can you tell.
I knew I was in for a good time when in the first 30 seconds of Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, they had some like teenager playing a young Woody Harrelson that they dubbed Woody Harrelson's voice over. It was
absolutely awesome.
It was fairly
especially
inexplicable.
considering the fact that Woody Harrelson has looked the same for 40 years.
Yeah, you could literally just like Woody Harrelson with like an Instagram filter. You could be like, oh yeah, that's him as a teenager. There were some amazing choices in this movie, both aesthetically, narratively.
Can we talk about
every sense?
Can we talk about the scene where Venom went to the club and came out of the closet?
Yeah, no, Venom goes to like a Pride Halloween party and is like, I'm sick of hiding that I'm an alien. And everyone like cheers for him.
Is an 8-foot-tall goop alien is like, I'm coming out of the Eddie Brock closet. And everyone's like, yay, we love your costume. It's Plur.
We were saying that the best thing about Venom, and this holds very true in this movie, probably truer than the original, is that with like the other Marvel movies, it'll be like you wait till the end credits and there's a scene with like some bullshit superhero that you didn't see before, and it's an Easter egg that's set up by like 3 seasons of a show that's on like a special tier of Disney Plus that's only available to dental hygienists. And like there's all this work you have to do, and it's supposed to like pay off huge for lore heads. And like everything has like an explanation and like a backstory, and they're going to like squeeze every dollar out of this by making a series about every character that's ever been referenced in any of the Avengers movies. But with Venom, they're like, yeah, no, there's a goo alien, and then there are monsters are real. We're not going to explain that. The goo alien can replicate if a guy bites you and and it will make a stronger goo alien. The entire plot of the movie is that Eddie Brock / Venom gets bitten by a crazy guy, and it causes the crazy guy to become a stronger goo alien than Venom. But Venom still beats his ass and wins.
Two quick things of notes here. No spoiler alerts, no spoilers. But number one, Venom 2, even more goop than the first Venom. So fans of goop will not be disappointed by this. And this time with the red Venom, the goop looks even more penis-like than it did before. I mean, I'm talking throbbing veins here. So we've got plenty of goop. Just second thing of note. I've been a fan of the Spider-Man comic books my whole life. Obviously, I'm a huge Peter Parker head, and if there's one thing I was waiting for decades now, is when are they going to put Shriek in a Marvel movie? When am I going to see Shriek on film? When am I going to see the iconic character Shriek, the lady that yells loud, portrayed on film? And I got to say, Naomi Harris did a spectacular job. I mean, we all remember Shriek from the comic strip.
Yeah, Shriek was kind of the breakout star in the 90s of comics.
I went as Shriek 3 Halloweens in a row.
Well, that being said, did you see the thing today where some activists did some bathroom warrior tactics to her, and people were mad about that?
Yeah, they wouldn't let her take a wine dump.
And people
that was
saying,
I was part of the activist group. I actually dressed up like a toilet and was sitting there with my mouth open in the stall. I'm just kidding, everybody. I didn't do that.
I am confronting Senator Sinema in the bathroom at Berghain in Berlin.
That would be so funny if there was like a guy in that activist group who's like suggests that. They're like, no, we're gonna put pressure on her and record her. And he's like, oh, I know, I'll like dress up like a toilet. Oh, I know. I can we can make a porta potty and dig a hole under the ground, and I can stand there with my mouth open. And then
somebody says, they say, Steve, that's not going to help. That's not going to make her pass the reconciliation bill. And he goes, reconciliation bill?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I thought we were just all perverts. I thought this was... Damn, my bad. I think I know how this movie came to be. So HBO Max was like, hey, we're starting a version of HBO that's bad. we're starting a version of HBO that's like an unself-aware CW. And we're going to make a bunch of shows like that. And it will also be the only way to see movies like Wonder Woman 1984, The Animal Farm. And we need another thing that sucks. We need something that like the scene transitions literally every 30 seconds, but the movie is still somehow too long. We need to never build up anything interesting about the characters. You just flat out tell us everything that's going on with the characters in the clumsiest way possible, like you're making 50 individual TikToks about the fathers of famous Sopranos characters, but bundled together over 2 hours. We need to ride this wave to get in the 500,000 homes in America that have HBO Max.
Yeah.
And David Chase was like, yeah, okay. Can I put some like stupid Buddhist bullshit in it? And they were like, absolutely. And he's like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
And yeah, he started like writing those scenes where he's like, you have to give up your possessions to wanting's bad. By the way, I made $2 million to completely write the worst thing that's ever been based on this incredible show I made. Actually, worse in every way than Sopranos Road to Respect. Worse than the Sopranos Cards Against Humanity game I'm assuming exists.
I mean, to be fair, I thought it was peak David Chase to do a movie about the Sopranos and be like, okay, I'm going to make it 50% about Tony Soprano's family friend, and the other 50% is going to be about a black guy named Harold that we've never met.
Yeah, who I think was that just like lateral thinking where he's like, all right, there's a street gang called the Black Saints. They got to be in the Many Saints because Moltisanti, Many Saints. We got to cover it all.
Yeah.
Well, so the way that happened is I'm David Chase's friend, and he was over at my place, and I was playing Grand Theft Auto. And he was just like, doing the thing where your friend complains about their problems and like ask you questions and you're not paying attention. And he was like, oh, I don't know. Should I write a 2-hour movie that's about my perspective about race? And I was like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And only after he left did I realize what I had done. David Chase, if you want to keep making series and movies that will infuriate the fans, I have so many ideas for you. I came up with this one just now. Okay, this is marketed as like Ralphie, Tony, Jackie, like at the time where they robbed Feature on his card game. It's like the 80s, they're on the come up. Like all like very period specific stuff. Like use some cool licensed 80s song in the trailer. But 70% of the movie is about Artie Bucco being a sous chef.
Eviction moratorium is up. All the benefits are no longer being distributed. And like people thought that this would juice the labor market. And what we're seeing right now is that it really hasn't. Like
it's weird. Like that, making people just more desperate does not somehow make jobs appear out of thin air. It's weird.
Or I mean, like there are jobs. Everyone's saying like, oh, like it's sort of like there's a certain level of like a kind of a capital strike going on right now, and like you see it in restaurant windows, or like a small version of it where they're just like, please apologize for the minor inconvenience, but nobody wants to work. And what's left unsaid there is like, I mean, it's not like that there aren't people seeking employment. It's just nobody now that employers are desperate for employees. And you have a little bit of bargaining power. No one wants to work for the shitty wages and conditions that are being offered. And by not hiring or not giving a higher wage, it amounts to kind of a capital strike.
If they really want to do it without raising wages, if they want people to come back into, especially service industry jobs, and you don't want to raise wages, give them a gun.
Yeah.
That might get some people to go behind a counter. Just the knowledge that they are strapped. And like that, the next time that they know that if somebody comes in and starts freaking out because their fucking their toy that they got with their Happy Meal wasn't the right Eternal that they were looking for. They can just raise the front of their shirt and show the fucking handle of the gun. That might get them behind the counter.
In my research to this, like the thing people are doing is just, once again, the NFT owners, the blockchain certified owners of these the dog shit. Just you've paid $3,000 for dog shit. They will share images of the NFT that they own on Twitter and be like, here's my investment assets. And then, wiseacres, jokers will then just drag and just right click, save image as, and then reply to them being like, I now own this too. And the line that I have seen about this idea of how like, oh, I own this JPEG, whereas you just have a copy of it, even though that the one I own is in fact not an original piece of art either. It's just something that, like, I don't know, a computer has said is real. They say taking a screenshot of someone's NFT and passing it off as your own is the equivalent of taking a selfie with someone else's Lamborghini and passing it off as your own, or just like they're saying like that is the equivalent of like screenshotting someone's NFT is like posing in, let's just say at a Dallas area car dealership or hospital and pretending that you own it.
Would you say it's like being like an X-ray technician and saying that you're a surgeon who owns 4 hospitals?
Yes, they would say that.
Yeah,
I would say that by their weird I don't know, the weird metaphysics that governs all this, I would say by their own definition, me screenshotting an NFT and saving it on my hard drive is the equivalent of me stealing your Lamborghini.
Well, yeah, I mean, the point of like getting a Lamborghini anyway is like so you can drive really fast, and mostly so people can see you do it because it's cool. Like, it's a cool car. But like the only people impressed by like seeing that you own like a MentalVerse are like other NFT losers. Like no Instagram model is going to be like, oh my God, you have a slimy guy. Oh my God, this pussy's yours. Make my clit insane.
But that's the thing, is that it doesn't do anything, and it isn't really any different if you own the thing or if somebody clicks on it. The difference is that it is a speculative asset.
Yeah.
It could hypothetically be sold to somebody else for more than you paid for it. That's the point of the thing. It is because there is no more places to profitably invest money in the economy. We have to invent fake speculative markets where we do all of the negative part of economic productivity. We pump things into the atmosphere, but you don't actually create anything because there's nothing to create. There's no value to be made doing that. There is only value to be made in people speculating that if they get in at X time, they can get out with Y amount of money. That's it.
There's always this question about like, can they just mint $1 trillion coin? I mean, this is, in my opinion, what Joe Biden should have done immediately, like instead of negotiating at this at all, mint $1 trillion coin, but they should mint $1 trillion NFT, a wet Jerry. And use that to fund our make sure we don't go bankrupt.
That would be pretty sick if you like made an NFT based on like Joe Biden's memories.
It's a lion that looks like Joe Biden.
Yeah, or like a milkshake. They could make the first GIF NFT. They could make like a milkshake that's rotating 360 degrees.
A line of NFTs all related to the flickering images that fill Joe Biden's dying brain every day.
Yeah, like that
like
would be
all. That
would be those would be
exactly.
Those would be the first good NFTs. It would be like you would just sit in a room with Joe Biden and like get him to like talk, like give flawless memories from like 1939, and he was like, African American man riding a donkey with one eye, and you're like, draw it. Like, get a police sketch artist, draw it super quick, boom, sold.
I got the razor blade that got put in the rain barrel to make it rusty NFT.
Yeah, $1 trillion. Was walking to Sunday school. Woman in a red dress opened her legs in front of her living room window at all of us. Later, we found out they put her on the pills. Whatever that is, draw it.
Look like a tennis ball, Jack.
Chinese guy caught in a molasses barrel. Draw it.
But Felix, I mean, I see what you're saying about how peps have more of a penchant for funny pranks and gags than Mimas. However, I would say RBG perhaps an exception to that rule, because who can forget one of the funniest gags of all time when she officiated that couple's wedding in the middle of COVID and then died a week later?
That was good. I think there was sort of a like Hallmark movie moment where her shitty daughter or something was like, you know, our grandma RBG, that's what they call her, even in her family. We love you, and you're great. You inspired every woman to buy a blouse for business. You made women get an internship at the museum. You are that bitch. That's not an insult anymore. You don't know that because you're 100. But you've done so much. But what we really want is a gag. We want you to have fun, and we want to have fun. And she was like, okay. And then she died.
Which was
died by officiating this fucking DNC insider wedding, which is hilarious.
If you're gonna save it for like to go out on top with like a big closer, she really did it. The timing was flawless.
And like all great jokes, it led to several other hysterical bust-em-ups. The Trump on the tarmac after she died.
With Tiny Dancer blaring.
That is a gag and a goof 'em up that is going to be like, I'm going to be thinking out as like the fucking DMT hits my brain. And I just like, as I leave this mortal coil, I'm just going to be thinking, she led a great life. This is the first time hearing about it.
She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life.
You know how the clock's been turning back lately?
Oh, yeah. We're back to Obama era.
Yeah.
Vox, we're on our way to Bush 2. We're in that direction.
Absolutely. Vox closed a vertical they had called Identities.
God, that's so funny.
Huge.
I saw you said, I'm like, they had a fucking vertical called Identities.
Yeah.
They ran out of them. They
did.
We thought there were more than there it turns out to be. We're very sorry.
They were like, when they launched this one, they're like, this is going to run and run. This bit has legs, boys.
Yeah.
We were in the lab trying to create some new identities, but we created ungodly creatures unfit for human sight. We have to close the whole thing.
It was just a bunch of Ripley clones going, kill my identity, kill it.
MGK and Megan Fox. That's not a celebrity relationship in the past 5 years.
No,
That's
no.
old shit.
That's some
most
benefit
importantly.
Shit. That's Billy Bob and Angelina
Absolutely,
Jolie.
absolutely.
Exactly. Most important thing. This is the most important thing probably in the world. The most important thing in the entire world. This is the barometer, the doomsday clock for how much in 2013 or so we are. The size of women's hats is massive.
We're getting big again.
Yeah. Every woman is wearing a hat that an overseer would wear right now. Not every woman, like it hasn't really hit New York yet, but it will. But in the cool part of Columbus, Ohio, those hats are big as fuck again. Desert boots for women have gone up 17,000%. That's why supply chains are fucked up. Too many women ordered desert boots and big hats, and they sent a new special fast boat, and it just like it caused a tidal wave in its wake, and it tipped over all the boats that have PS5s and milk in them.
There are currently 15 Maersk container ships idling off the coast of California, all of them loaded to bear with sombreros for America's women, which, guess what? You're not getting. They're not going to have. Christmas is canceled. Christmas is ruined because the 10-gallon hats, sombreros, and sort of pith helmets that women have ordered for the holiday season are not going to arrive on time.
Louise Linton working on another movie.
Oh, fuck yes.
Yeah, new one dropping.
Yes. Do we know? Do we have? Is our plot synopsis out? Do we have any idea what the project is?
Is it about a beautiful, rich sociopath / nymphomaniac maybe doing something cool?
Louise Linton, Pearson Fode.
What?
Well, it's probably Fode or some French bullshit, but it's spelled Fode. So he's Pearson Fode to me. And William Baldwin to star in Murder. Yeah. The stars are all here. Fode and Baldwin.
Hello.
You usually don't get a Fode and a Baldwin. Pretty hard. To star in Murder Mystery Out of Hand.
Sounds like the exact same plot.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
I guess this is what.
Well, there was no mystery. There was no mystery.
There was no mystery
in
in the other one. Maybe that'll.
Okay. Hold on, I got it. Out of Hand is about a woman in the center of a thriller about passion, manipulation, and deceit. And it is described as being in the vein of Basic Instinct meets Cape Fear.
Ooh. Oh my God! Yes. Yes.
The film tells the story of a professor of literature and psychology.
I'll stop you there. I'll stop you right there. It's already.
At Berkeley. Dr. Valerie Cross, played by Louise Linton, and her oppressive lover, David Pearson Fode, who become suspects in the vicious murder of one of her female students.
Uh-oh.
This sounds tight.
They probably were doing three-way shit with him. With her.
Absolutely.
Look, Matt, what have you and I been saying for like a year now? We need a return of the erotic thriller.
Yep. And it's coming back.
Louise Linton, the ball is in your court.
Yes.
We'll be seeing that on day one.
Oh, absolutely.
Man, you know COVID's over when Pearson Fode's back in theaters.
Pearson Fode is an American actor, internet personality, and model known for his roles as Brooks on Disney Channel's Jessie and Eli in the 2015 romantic comedy film Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List.
Ooh.
He was on The Bold and the Beautiful also.
Is he known? Is he like a TikTok guy? What do they mean internet personality?
He revealed on Instagram that he suffers brain trauma and blackouts. I guess that's the internet personality, admitting your medical history on Instagram.
Okay, reveal yourselves. Which one of you gave Pearson Fode the Havana syndrome?
So he's this is Washington State Trooper signing off for the last time. Can we cue up the next one? There's another one of these. Oh God, look at this guy. Look at this butterball.
He doesn't need the shot.
Due to my personal choice to take a moral stand for medical freedom, personal choice, I will be signing out of service for the last time today. After nearly 17 years of serving the citizens of the state of Washington, it has been my honor and privilege to work alongside all of you. I want to take a moment to thank those that have helped me be successful.
These are like Oscar speeches.
To go home every day.
Yeah.
At the end of each shift, to hear the ripping of that Velcro is a relief to my.
He's talking about his shoes.
I want to admonish each of you, knowing that despite what the press releases and the news conferences are saying to downplay this role, we all know in this district on the 19th there will be 51 of the 75 troopers available and only 7 of the 11 sergeants. So please take care of each other. Be safe and make sure you all go home at the end of each day. Again, thank you to each and every one of you that have stood alongside me and that we have helped each other out. But as for me, I am out of service and on to new adventures.
Wait, what?
It's on to new adventures.
On to new adventures.
He's going to like a Discovery Zone by himself. I want to point out something I love about these. For the most part, except for one part where he says, I want to admonish people for what the press conferences are saying. For the most part, none of these guys seem to be doing cop speak. They're not going, on July 14th, I perpendiculated my arm away from the shot and did not kinetically receive the penetrating projectile of the vaccine into my arm. They're not doing how cops usually talk. And do you think it's like, they're like, oh, I'm quitting. That's like I have to turn in my service gun. I also have to turn in all those vocabulary.
Yeah, I can never refer to a particular individual again.
Nothing will ever happen kinetically in my life.
I will no longer be optically assessing situations for the Washington State troopers.
I don't want to talk about that movie
I
at
don't
all.
mean no
I don't
spoilers.
want that movie if that movie succeeds, we truly are doomed as a society. If they can just say, hey, here's some guys none of you have ever heard of standing in a field, and one of them has body dysmorphia from doing HGH, and you're supposed to feel bad for him, and then 100 million people see it, we're lost. We're done for.
Matt, are you saying that? Wait, characters that nobody has heard about? You're talking about Kingo, buddy.
Wait, are you implying that? Wait, you're saying that Druig isn't people's favorite character from the comics? I would leave this one to the real geeks.
That's every time you see Kingo, you should be going, "That's Kingo."
Yeah,
You should be raising the roof every time you see Kingo, one of the most beloved figures in comic book history.
Yeah, I'll tell you who I'm really excited for, and this is a really fucking cool role. Like, I'm sorry to swear, but I'm just so excited as a comics fan. The character Herman. Yeah,
Is he a thinker or a fighter?
He's sort of both. He's like the best scientist ever because he's the first scientist, and he's actually played by Doug Benson. It's pretty sick, right?
His power is getting really high.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited. I'm seeing the internals.
I remember the one kid we had in my elementary school class, a black boy who had been born at home and who was not circumcised. All us boys wanted to stare at his primitive root wiener when we were at the urinal during recess. Yes, let's run that back for a second. A black boy in Rod's elementary school class was not circumcised, and according to Rod, all us boys wanted to stare at his primitive root wiener when we were at the urinal during recess. I mean,
where's Robin DiAngelo when you need her?
When they were at the urinal during recess? You go to the urinal before recess. What the fuck is going on here?
Rod went to school at Berghain.
Yeah, it's like, all right, kids, save it up for recess. Save all that piss up for recess so you can have a good time.
Primitive root wiener.
Why both of those words? I mean, obviously, primitive is very problematic. That goes without saying. But for me, but also it's like, well, duh, he's Rob Dreyer. Of course he's going to say that. But root and wiener.
It's the perfect Rod Dreher phrase.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, this is why Rod is the king. Like, he cannot help but shade what's on it. Like, he cannot veil in any sense what is actually on his mind. And he's just like, I'll have you know, I've never once thought about circumcision, other than my own son's circumcision, which I consented to. But for the last 45 years of my life, I have been thinking about this one black kid's dick.
You know, Proust's Madeline, it's like that. Only it's a dick.
It's really is the perfect Rod phrase. It's what I would use to explain it to somebody, to explain Rod as fast as I could, because it's racist.
Yeah.
It's like homoerotic, but also like not in a regular way. Not even like in a regular repressed, conservative guy way. It's homoerotic in like a body horror way.
Yeah.
He gets everything.
Yeah. Like, he's clearly, like, some part of this has erotically fixated him for all these years, but in a way that is very difficult to imagine as, like, erotic and not just horrifying. Like, even he can't, it's amazing.
I mean,
it's like if Pinhead wrote a letter to Dan Savage.
It's astonishing to me that anyone still pretends that the Democrats want to lower prescription drug prices, or like it's just.
Well, it doesn't. That's the thing, is that there's no want. There's no Democrats. Like there is no institutional agenda. Like that, that doesn't exist. Like, that is the greater fraud. It's not even the fraud of like pretending that they have specific desires. It's pretending that they actually have any desires at all. That's the fraud. But without that lie, without that assumed fantasy to operate from, it's almost impossible to write political journalism that adheres to a narrative of ideology and doesn't just talk about vested interests and money, which the whole point of the political journalistic genre is to elide that fact and to find something else to talk about.
We have this massive, like, outpour of these battle royale games where like literally you're dropped on a map with 100 other people. Your job is to be the last one standing or the last team standing in the case of like something like Apex Legends. And as time goes on, you have to collect resources in order to be able to survive. And the map closes in on you as natural disasters wipe out the rest of the map, or government interference in the case of, whatever other games wipe out the map. So like, in Fortnite, it's the storm. You have to keep going in to avoid the storm. In PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battleground, you have to keep moving in because there's this blue taser material that will kill you if you stay outside of the circle. And ultimately, there's like one spot for one person to be in, and you kill everyone else in order to live there. Now, people said I was reading too much into it. I think that's pretty obviously something that is born out of, like, maybe in the sort of like, the classical subconscious of, common subconscious or whatever, collective unconscious, sorry. Where like, like everyone is worried about being the last person standing and having to like, scrounge when their tasties aren't at the supermarket or whatever. And these games just seem to be like obsessed with this, right? Like there's nothing more to our current moment and to our current moment in the last like 10 years, worrying about climate change, worrying about supply chains, worrying about like now with the pandemic, worrying about that, like dropping on a map, chopping up something, gathering wood and building a little hovel for ourselves so someone can't shoot us. Right. So, I mean, that was basically where I was going with Fortnite. Like, it really is like it's a post-scarcity game, right? Like, it's a game that is like obsessed with this idea of there's not enough stuff, which, as we know, is not true. Like, there's plenty of stuff. It's actually getting it to places that's the problem.
It's also building a giant deck very quickly, from what I understand. Does anyone play Fortnite anymore?
Well, I mean, I want to get into your chapter on first-person shooters, right? Mm-hmm. Because for our generation, it was Doom. It was Doom 2. That was it. That was like you could play it on your home computer, just the keyboard, just the shotgun, the Gatling gun, the chainsaw. You're just tearing through these fucking demons. It was like it was grisly, violent, gory. It was the game that parents were concerned about. And then Columbine happened, and they were like, oh, like they were. These are murder simulators that are just training sociopaths to enact out in reality these violent mass murder fantasies.
Right.
How do we go from like the panic over Doom 2 to now like franchises like Call of Duty, which are almost like like state approved in a way?
Yeah. So one of the things that I find so interesting about that, like that was my favorite chapter to write, because there is this, like, I thought I had a hypothesis about how the chapter would go. And then when I did the research, like, it was borne out more than I could have hoped. Like, the Columbine thing was not the moment it turned, basically. It really was like 9/11 where things like shifted for first person shooters. But like Columbine was like a big deal for first person shooters, as you say, like not just because they like resembled it, but because like, Eric Harris made Columbine levels. Like you can still get them. Like they're sort of like on the hidden parts of the internet or whatever, but like not really. Like you can just download his maps. They're not even interesting. Like this, I felt again, like Matt Christman reading this, where like, I was like, these are like not even exceptional maps. Like these are just like normal Doom maps that this mass murderer made. Like, what does that tell us about the genre? Right. But like after 9/11, very soon after 9/11, we get Call of Duty, we get Medal of Honor, we get Battlefield, all like these massive tentpole games. And some of them are right before 9/11 too. Like I think Medal of Honor is 2000. But right around there, we get these tentpole military shooter games, as well as these, a little later, we get America's Army. Right. And America's Army is like the perfect example of this for me. Like, I don't know if you guys remember America's Army.
This is the video game that was literally created by the Defense Department.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's an interview that Polygon does with the guy who made it. And they're like, wow. So like, what do you think about this? Is this for recruiting? And he's like, well, I guess like we want to let people know what the Army's all about. And they'll be like, well, do you bring in the horror of war? And he's like, well, more or less, it's fine. But they're all about like, it's basically just a bunch of West Point people who majored in marketing, brought together to make a video game that makes recruiting more palatable. And you'd think, right, like, oh, if the sort of like naive opinion here would be like, well, certainly, if we're making more realistic shooters where people are more, but people, not just demons, people are more realistically like gutted, killed, torn apart. Like in the most recent Call of Duty multiplayer, there's a white phosphorus ultimate. Like it's like, you know, like you can like drop white phosphorus on people. And as I say in the book, like the main complaint is from Call of Duty players who are like, this isn't in the meta. Like this isn't interesting. Like you can't use the white phosphorus effectively in multiplayer. No one cares. Like literally, like the Penny Arcade guys made fun of people who cared about America's Army being like propaganda. People are like, you know what, it's cool.
I guess like just in terms of the historical perspective, we mentioned a second ago, like about the idea that like if this were 1946, 10 million workers would be on strike. And like, so we're talking about 15,000 now. And in like, whether, you know, like when we discuss this on the show, like do you find that like in covering this, like there is always a tendency or an overcorrection to look at the very inspiring and heartening things that are going on in terms of solidarity, but particularly on the left, this tendency to oversell it or put too much hope in it, or just kind of like a danger of like every expectations being raised every time and then feeling dejected when it's like, because, you know, this is 70 years plus now of policy, and it's like trying to turn around like one of those shipping containers in the Suez Canal or something. This is very long work, and like there's most of the most powerful forces in our society are arrayed against it, and these muscles of organizing or solidarity have atrophied over many generations. So I mean, like, how do you think there's like, is it difficult to like try to like be positive and supportive, but not oversell or get people too, juiced or excited, but while trying to maintain a kind of an enthusiasm for things like this?
Yeah, I mean, like, I totally get that. I've identified for a long time as a pessimist about the labor movement being like, we're not there yet. Like, there's not a general strike on, last week. We do have 10,000 workers going. That's good to like look at it in the eye, but I think a lot of it is like, sort of downstream of the disconnect between people and, between like socialists and working people. Like, talk to workers. They don't think there's like a revolution brewing at their workplace. There could be a strike next week. Like, get real about the actual, what are we actually looking at? I think it's totally real with raising expectations and, the fallout of that. It's a dance you have to do of like, hearts and minds is one part of it, but also organization is like the other part of it. Like, the reason John Deere workers are on strike, we can talk about kind of like the inspirational stuff, the narrative stuff. That's all part of it. That motivates individual people. They feel moved to action, but they just held a fucking meeting, have a union, and decided we're going out. And they all, did the tech spanking and called each other up and said, here's the picket line, here's the signs, here's what we're going to do. So like, that's infinitely more important in terms of like getting results, things happening in like material reality than like the vibe of being an essential worker. I think they're both important, but like you got to get real with it.
Vibes are important, but so is realness.
You've heard of a card check. This is a vibe check.
Yes. We need to institute a national vibe check in the private sector.
Obama promised vibe check, and he fucking threw us under the bus.
If you like your vibes, you can keep them.
Here we get to the big. This is the marquee event at the Milken Jamboree. That was not the case for someone who turned out to be one of the conference's biggest draws. Barry Weiss, the provocateur and self-styled free speech martyr. I mean, giving away the game here at the Milken Jamboree seems to be the theme rather than ending oppression, because self-styled free speech martyr Barry Weiss is the biggest draw at the Dracula conference of just like the most powerful people and the richest fucks in the entire world. And they're just like, yes, Barry, please, more. Tell us more. We want to, please tell us about your plight being censored. Her appeal to older financiers. I mean, that's also funny because, we could just, her appeal to old people, period. I mean, like, that's her appeal, period, point blank.
Yes.
I remember I saw like any book tour, any book reading she gives is like, she's like Jay Leno. She's like playing to like, she's one of the only people who plays to an audience categorically 40 years older than she is.
They all like to imagine that she's their smart young granddaughter who just can't catch a break in this harsh world.
We're the cutting edge rebels, like we're edgy and cool because we're not afraid to tell you some real shit about how the junk bond market is fucking ripe for investing in. It says her appeal to older financiers was was known, but it became crystal clear when her session entitled "Talking Back to Cancel Culture" drew a capacity crowd that left some stuck outside in a queue. Weiss
fucking love that shit. I got it. The cancel culture stuff is just so my eyes just go fucking blank. And these people, like, I'm sure like you guys, I find the whole discussion of it more just irritating than anything. Like, but these people, these older people, just like it is the most interesting thing in the world to them. These are
the most uncancelable people on the planet. You know what I'm saying? Like Michael Milken got a pardon from Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're the most. Yeah, they're at the most Olympian remove, but they're also incredibly powerful people who are now living in a technological and media environment where they are having to see the opinions of their lessers. And that is very unnerving and destabilizing and anxiety producing for them. They hate that shit. And they're like, someone do something about this. Who can I send some Werther's originals to who will do something about this?
But like,
and there's a lot of people who are like me. I love Werther's. Hook me up.
But just in terms of our wine entree pairing with the first interview, like I think there's a reason the biggest draw at the Milken Jamboree is a conference on talking back to cancel culture. I mean, like, there's a reason these people like talking about it, because I think it's a way for them to basically further their financial fucking chokehold over the rest of us. Because, like, yeah, it is enervating, but like, I think most people who engage heavily in the cancel culture debate on one side or another just want you to keep fucking talking about it.
Yes,
even though you don't have
their interest and the interest of people who pay them to make this what matters at this given moment in time.
Weiss spent several minutes criticizing her former employer, the New York Times, and decried what she called the philosophy of woke. At one point, Weiss...
Whoa!
Yeah, here's the money shot. At one point, Weiss compared her professional travails to the life of Galileo, the Italian scientist who was forced to renounce his views on heliocentrism to avoid being burnt at the stake. Calm down, Barry. I mean, the ego.
She tried to get the New York Times to fire her, and they wouldn't do it. So she had to quit.
I mean, just
it's the equivalent would be somebody like is climbing up onto their own stake and lighting the bonfire themselves.
And it's also whatever professional consequences Galileo suffered for his theory of a heliocentric solar system, I'd say a little bit more, important and world history changing than Barry Weiss's discovery that BDS threatens indigenous Jewish bodies and spaces. I'd just say one is a little bit more worthwhile than the other, or it's just, a little bit more important. If I was going to, if you're going to compare yourself to someone, she could have compared herself to when Krusty the Clown lost his TV show.
Again, though, Krusty would have had to have quit the show himself under no pressure.
This is really good, though. Her interviewer, the conservative political pollster Frank Luntz, once again, Barry, cutting edge here. Like the bleeding edge of fucking like dangerous cultural fucking rebels being interviewed by... being interviewed by a guy who still has spaghetti stains from like the last time he had to watch a focus group through a fucking two-way mirror.
Yeah, I'm more impressed that Luntz would risk his professional reputation of as Mr. Polls by consorting with such a dangerous and against the grain thinker as Barry Weiss.
He says, her interviewer, Frank Luntz, implored Weiss to throw her hat in the ring for the open U.S. Senate seat in Weiss's home state of Pennsylvania. Okay, can I donate to this campaign now? Is there anything I can do to make this happen?
Someone needs to do worse than J.D. Vance in a primary, and I think she's got the power to do it.
An idea that was greeted with a burst of applause, marking the rare Milken conference talk where those in the audience were not fiddling with their phones. So there you go. That's the Milken Jamboree. Well, Felix, you've been away, but sort of the golden path that you've laid out continues to, like, the pieces continue to fall into place there. And I would just like to bring up, people are already crediting you for this, which I think is totally appropriate. But did you see Just the phrase Mitt Romney Ted Lasso Halloween costume is something only you could have birthed into reality. But then Mitt Romney as Ted Lasso doing monkey shines with Kristinn Sinema. I mean, you said that like he was going to fall for her.
He's sprung. He's so sprung. Like, well, I first saw like everyone, like the Ted Lasso thing was a lot. And I don't know if you saw it, but I've been very even-handed these past few days. I will admit, movies have pulled ahead of TV. This has been a bad past few weeks for TV.
Yeah,
and
I know. Even with fucking somebody getting domed on a set, it's still TV is still taking L's.
Well, Ken Olin probably does that every day. But yeah, no, it's been a rough one for TV. But I couldn't even think about that because he immediately, the first person he showed that costume to was Kristinn Sinema.
Oh yeah, he was so proud of it.
Yeah,
I gotta let Kristinn see this. I gotta have. She's gonna flip.
Yeah, she'll get a kick out of this. It didn't seem like she gave a shit. That's what I love the most about their very one-sided relationship. Is she could not care less about him.
No,
he's barking up the wrong tree. But he loves her.
Yeah,
he sees her. Yeah, like one day she's dressing like a substitute teacher who's trying to marry a 9-year-old. The other day she dresses like little. Other day she dresses like Lil Durk when he got signed in 2012 during the Sign to the Streets era, and just that alone, he's like, man, I've never had a denim vest woman in my life who wasn't like working for me. I've never had a denim vest woman in my life who I couldn't immediately kill with no legal consequence. Like this was the woman who like put an outfit on my horse. That was her job, and I got a tax write-off if like my horse killed her. But this is a woman with a denim vest who's my equal, and I'm feeling these incredible things in my body, and I think I'm going through kolob puberty. Because 75, it might be 75 in like Mormon years, but that's like with the mileage and everything. He's about 15 years old in a normal person's year.
Yeah,
normal
absolutely.
Americans especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Lindsey Graham doing that thing where you jump up on bed while one soaks in another to like stimulate sort of the friction and motion that like if you were pumping yourself, that would be bad. But if Lindsey Graham is jumping on the bed while you soak, then that Ted Lasso it up right there.
And that is sort of the moral of Ted Lasso. Like it doesn't matter if you're like like an evil old like closet goblin. You can like still help your friend. Like friendship's the most important thing. Like doesn't that happen in Ted Lasso? Like he needs his friend's help to like get pussy.
Yeah, no,
is that what the show's about?
Yeah, there's one episode where it's just about Ted Lasso coaching his players on how to eat pussy and do it, but like not just be good at it, but like do it without asking, without being asked, rather,
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a she comes first kind of show, and I think honestly that's why a lot of people hate it, but that's why Mitt Romney loves it.
Did I read this wrong? Did I like hallucinate this? There's like a pussy eating scene in Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I mean, I only know what people say about it, and like I saw this woman being like, "Admit it, you hate Ted Lasso because the men give pleasure to women without being asked, and that threatens you." And I said,
"Yeah, no,
lady, correct."
It is, yeah, that's disgusting. Like
yes, it's disgusting.
I mean, like for either direction, like you can't get the mouth pregnant. That should be nowhere near the genitals. That goes for both ways you can do it. I don't even want to say what it is. It's disgusting. Women, men, get that mouth away from that worm. It's all bad. Don't do any of it. But I was wondering, like when I saw that, like was it one of those things where this is just an insane person who watches the show and is like, oh, I can tell Ted Lasso like eats pussy and he's far
just like
past the
Beto O'Rourke.
alphabet. Yeah. Or was there literally a scene where he's like, sometimes winning means that you can look your friends in the eye, and then he just like goes buck wild on a clit.
I have no idea, but I mean, apparently Ted Lasso is a pro. I'm not even going to say it. It's pro a certain sex practice that I don't think. I mean, I don't think should be mentioned on a family podcast.
Well, I went into the last internet cafe in Koreatown because I didn't want this on my personal computer, like this in my search, and I just yelled, "Can someone Google Ted Lasso clit?" And that's the other reason I have to leave. Can someone Google like Ted Lasso eating pussy? I want to know, did this really happen on the show?
Sound off in the comments.
Like the infrastructure bill, okay. Or whatever, I don't care anymore. It's the reconciliation bill. Who cares? Whatever, the bill. Everyone's mad at it, right? Because it's like, oh, we took out the things that were like free plumbing school for CBs. You're the child of a CB, you can go to plumbing school. Like the things that helped Joe Biden win the primary, the policies that everyone loved, they even took those out. All that shit. And so we're only left with 1.5 trillion. A lot of people are saying, well, what's left? You know, if you took all that out, what's left? What is the 1.5 trillion? And I'm glad you asked. The 1.5 trillion is the most ambitious federal healthcare plan, not just in American history, but you could argue like the history of the industrialized West. It's a $1.5 trillion plan, 150 billion over 10 years, every year. It's called Floss Latino. And what this means is, you know, because a lot of people don't realize it's budget neutral.
Ooh.
It gives, yeah, that's the big thing. So Floss Latino means that we are giving $150 billion of tax breaks to the big two, Colgate and Crest. What they are going to do is they're going to create a mail-in rebate program where Latinos can experience savings of up to 67 cents on the dollar for every floss item, not applicable to water picks. And a lot of people are saying like, oh, this is means tested. Like this leaves out Argentinians, like Chileans have had problems with the rebates, Chilean Americans. But, you know, I will say to them, like, did you not want Latinos to floss?
Yeah. I mean, do you want a world where Trump is president and Latinos cannot floss?
Yeah, no, I've been working focus groups, and this is like huge in Florida. Floss Latino is going to help the Democrats win Florida. But I don't know. I think this is a big deal. I think it's a big deal that we got like Joe Manchin to support Floss Latino.
I mean, and people said that there was no dental or vision in this bill either. But I mean, Floss Latino. I mean, is there anything more important for dental than flossing?
No.
I mean, second, maybe even more important than brushing your teeth. We're talking about flossing, and a lot of people say, "Oh, there's not enough in this bill to combat climate change or to bring prescription drug prices to heel." Well, Floss Latino. I mean, do you think the executives at Big Soda wanted Floss Latino passed?
No,
they lobbied intensely against this. And you know what? Like, it's putting them in their place.
This is like, you know, we supported Bernie after we supported Elizabeth Warren until exactly April 25th.
Everyone knows that about us.
Everyone knows that. But like so that means we're as far left as possible, right?
Oh yeah, can't get any more.
No, it's impossible. I would have been in the Boond. Not the racist one.
No, the good
opposite.
one.
The good one. Like no. If you could put like a little genius annotation there where I'm saying it's not the Nazi one, please. I mean the one that would, yeah, you get it. But we also realize what country we live in. And like passing Floss Latino in America is like passing a workers' Soviet in any European nation.
Yeah.
If not more impressive. I think it's time to pop some bottles. And if you're Latino, don't forget to floss because it's on the house. 67 cents on the dollar on the house. Well, maybe then the future is like, you know, people are like, oh, it's Brave New World. No, it's 1984. It's a combination of everything. But the thing that is the biggest part of the future is equilibrium. Because like you just have a license to everything. Even when you own a movie, that just means you have like a license to watch the digital copy that they can change.
Oh my God! So all art will be illegal.
Right?
They'll come to your house and burn it.
They're going to change it all the time. Like they're going to be like, you know, they'll destroy your copy of Uncle Buck, and they'll be like, no, the digital version, it's better. It's like 180 billion p. Don't you want to see it like in high definition?
Don't you want to stream it?
Yeah, don't you want to stream Uncle Buck in 380 frames a second? And it's like, yeah. But then you realize that they've changed the movie because Uncle Buck, he's like very similar in personality to the people who stormed the Capitol in the terrorist attack of January 6th.
Yeah.
And they've edited scenes where
Uncle Buck does a statement of harm. But you're like, fuck, this sucks. Like, I don't care that it's 380 frames a second. I don't care. Digital
John Candy, his soul, which is now owned by the algorithm. He's not dead. It's just like a computer has like basically copied the neural networks of John Candy's brain, and he will appear to you in the metaverse on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise and do a land acknowledgement before a screening of the new version of Uncle Buck, which you'll be paying. You'll have to put a digital token into the metaverse token slot if you want to watch another, like every 5 minutes. If you want to find out how Uncle Buck ends, you will have to continue to rent the John Candy's digital enslaved soul.
Yeah, and that'll be like the new like status symbol if you're PMC. It's like, oh yeah, no, I let my girlfriend have my password to John Candy's soul.
They're cracking down on that though.
Yeah,
because only one household will be allowed to have access to John Candy's soul, and you can you can torture him for eternity, or you can be nice to him for eternity,
or you can get bored halfway through and do the other one.
And there's like a Vox article 5 years into the soul renting program that's like, 68% of people chose to be nice to him for eternity. And like, if that doesn't show that like people are good,
And then, of course, they figure out, like, what do people end up wanting to do with John Candy? And wouldn't you know it, you have to pay more to do certain things. Like it costs, a couple 100,000 credits to make him be in all of his movies for everyone streaming, but in every one of them, he is wearing his barf costume from Spaceballs.
Okay, the barf skin is a premium tier.
No, yeah, that's high end.
That's access the barf skin.
The barf skin's one of the most expensive items in the entire,
metaverse.
Steam library there.
Okay. Whew. All right, kicking off the show Monday, October 18th, 2021. Boys, I got a confession to make. I badly overslept today. I got nothing for the weekend. I got no news. I mean, I don't know what to do for the show today. I mean, so you're like, what can we talk about today? What do you got for me?
Wait, you haven't heard?
Heard what?
Colin Powell died.
Wow. This is the first time hearing about this. He led an amazing life. He led an amazing, just what more can you say? People will be surprised that I'm saying that. I'm still going to say it. He was a great guy, led an extraordinary life. Wow. Colin Powell. Wow.
Now that he's dead, can we start pronouncing his name correctly?
Colin? Colin Powell.
Yeah, what the fuck?